host, the Water Dog, and I've got a great treat for you today. We've got a great interview coming up with the Hall of Famer himself. That's right, Darby Keeney. And Darby's here with us today. We're doing the Cold Amber's Hold over here at Viter, and he's taking this time to, answer a few questions for us. And so we're just going to jump right on to two things for you. But first off, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. It's great being down here. I'm glad that I had a chance to sneak in for a weekend with you guys. It's going to be good fun.
All right. So let's get to it, man. What first attracted you to the game?
I started out playing Magic with some friends from work, and our play group there kind of grew. And one of the guys was a VTES player from college and introduced us to this other thing that Garfield did. And from there, it was just the freedom of the way that you can construct your decks, the complexity and the extra social interactions that really kind of sucked me in. It was just so much better than trying to build a one-trick deck that won in 3 turns from Magic.
Yeah.
Instead, it turned into this more involved process, and I found that really appealing.
So when did you first start playing?
Let's see. So I picked up Magic in '94. It was probably 3 years later, maybe '97, when I picked up VTES. And then by, say, 2000, it was all VTES and no Magic.
Ah, okay. Yeah. Well, VTES has always been my favorite game. I've always loved it because of the fact of the multiplayer aspect, the social aspect of it. It's one of those games you grab a pizza and you play all night.
Right.
That's what I love about it. Okay, what's your favorite clan?
So because I came at it from a card game perspective and not necessarily the role playing, I didn't migrate in that way. I don't have as much emotional attachment to any clan or part of the franchise. That being said, I think the Brouillard sensibilities pretty much align the most with mine. So yeah, I guess if I got to pick a clan, it's Brouillard.
So who's your favorite vampire then?
All right, so this is going to be weird.
Okay.
But Anarch Convert.
Anarch
Convert.
Because you can put him in any deck?
It just changed the game, right? It was a really elegant solution to a problem that existed, which was the overhead associated with going Anarch. And if you want to access that broad class of cards, we needed to find a way to do it. And it's way easier to manipulate your crypt than your library. So it was just a super elegant solution, and I think that design was fantastic. The guy's boring as heck on his own, but you staple him onto something else, he suddenly becomes really interesting. If you want to stretch beyond that, I'm on this Nicomedes kick right now.
Oh, okay.
Just because that special is incredible when you're building these kind of intricate, tricky decks. Just to be able to flush your hand and see a bunch of new cards is tremendously strong.
Oh, absolutely. So then, what's your preferred discipline? What's your favorite discipline that you often just find yourself gravitating to?
It's got to be presence because it does so many things. I love the political aspect of the game.
Right.
And so if you're going to be playing, votes, the reason you're probably doing that is to voter cap, and so that drives you into presence. And then I think that the ability to bleed, to have combat avoidance, the discipline's just really versatile.
Right.
And I kind of appreciate the fact that it packages so many things into just one little box.
Now, is there a favorite deck archetype that you like playing? Is there a specific archetype that you kind of find yourself going back to? What's your favorite one?
Yeah, I don't really have one. I like to build decks with a lot of diversity. I guess if you're going to classify what I build, they're Rube Goldberg machines, right? So really, really complex and probably don't do exactly what you want, but they're really fun to watch work.
Like the dogs you were killing me with last night.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, the one thing that I'm not good at is dedicated walls. But these other things that, like, all these little pieces fit together and then don't do anything.
Darby killed me with puppies last night. I just want everybody to know I got killed by puppies.
Underbridge Straits is a strong card.
Okay. So what's your favorite thing about VTES overall? I mean, if you had to say, which is just your favorite thing?
Well, the thing that keeps me coming back, even, sometimes you go through these lulls and you're not as interested in gaming. But the thing that keeps sucking me back in is the people. I mean, it's you're amazing. I've got these friendships from 25 years with people all over the world, and it's impossible for me to walk away from that. Right. There might be times where it's like, oh my gosh, I don't really want to go play another VTES game, and then it's like, yeah, but Randy and Martin will be there, and okay, fine. I only get to see them once a year, so off you go.
It's like Norm Brown is my friend, right? And I met Norm back when we first started playing the game and everything else. And even when I wasn't playing, Norm, man, we went out and did some things. Just you have those relationships that you build with these guys. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, every week of Nightmares, we have a crew of people. We rent a house. We make it a week-long thing. There's food. There's VTES. There might be a beer or two involved in there somewhere. It's just really the people that keep sucking me back in, and it is also an amazing, challenging game. We're going to go beat on each other. We're going to hate each other for 2 hours, and then we're going to go have a burrito, and everything's going to be okay. So,
all right, let's get to the fun stuff. These are the type of questions I love to ask. Now, if you could change one rule in the game today, one rule, what would it be?
So, I don't think that the rules as they exist are particularly wrong now. It's a complex game. And so the one thing that I'd want to try to do in the rule set would be to better manage timing and the way that things are sequenced and happen. Because when you're trying to teach a new player, that's always where the biggest mistakes are made. When can I do this? What can I, how is this card played? How does it interact? I think that introducing cleanup phases somewhere in, say after combat, now there's a cleanup phase. It would make things like carrion crows a lot easier to deal with, because that card could then go into play like Trap does now, and then during the cleanup phase, it could be removed.
Gotcha.
So I think that really timing is the biggest rules problem that we have. I'm always on instant message with Carl Schaefer or somebody else going, am I wrong about the way this timing works? And it's like, no, this is really busted, and it should probably be different. So.
All right, here we go. If you could ban one card, just one, you can.
I only get one. You're only giving me one.
I'm only giving you one.
No, come on, you got to give me more than one.
If you feel like you need to get
I'm gonna have to give you more. Well, I'm gonna give you candidates.
All right, here we go.
All right, so if I can ban a card.
A card.
Okay, if I'm going to ban a card, I'm actually going to ban 3 of them because it's Asher tablets to start with.
Gotcha.
Right, so I don't like what that card does to the game in a lot of different ways. Philosophically, mechanically, I just don't. You come to a game, you put down your deck that you've spent a lot of time optimizing, you've got all the ratios right. What Asher Tablets does for that deck that no other deck can do is, in effect, you're reconstructing parts of the deck on the fly to fit that moment. And I don't think that's good for a game that is designed to rely more on resource management and player skills than it is, oh, hey, I really need all 6 entrancements back. Or every other turn, I'm going to get 5 majesties back. Right. I just don't think that is a healthy thing for a game that's supposed to be built around fixed ratios and random draws.
Right.
Because you're throwing all that out the window just because of the existence of these cards.
Does it hurt creative construction, you think, a little bit?
I don't know. You can pull things off with that because you can replay silver bullets more efficiently. So, in some ways, I'm going to say it opens up different creative routes.
Okay.
But I just don't think that those are routes that really need to exist. I'm going to give you a couple others though, because I think Veil of Darkness needs to be removed from the game. Not because the effect is wrong, it's just so hard to monitor in a tournament environment. I've seen more rewinds from Veil of Darkness than I've seen from any other card. And I think I've only played one tournament game where it was actually monitored consistently through the whole game and politely, which was the best part.
Right.
It was like the whole table was chiming in with, maybe that works, and that was really, really great. And then I promised you a third card, and that's going to be the Unmasking, which I don't think is a problem purely from scale. I think the problem is it's just too persistent. It's too hard to get rid of.
Right.
So
that's the downside of event cards, because really there's really only two ways that I can think of that you can get rid of. One is the Master card. That I think there's a Master card that you can play that, when the event comes in, you can get rid of it. And the other one is there's an event card, but it's random.
Right. There are a couple other ways, but you got to be Black Hand or something like that.
Yeah.
So if it sat in play with some way to get rid of it, like Week of Nightmares or some other kind of countdown mechanic, it'd be fine. It just sticks around too long, and it preferentially helps, one or two decks, because maybe that guy's got a random ally. And it incentivizes ally stealing as well, because if that thing's on the table, you want to partake in it. So it's another card that's kind of on my watch list.
Okay. Now here's the things I've always liked, because I sit down and I've been playing with people mainly throughout Texas and Louisiana. That's my little circle of players and stuff like that. But I'm always fascinated who's always the tough person for you. So who's the best player you ever played, and if not that, then at least who's
well, you are, brother. You're a thorn in my side.
Thorn in my side. But do you have an interesting story that maybe you could share with us about a player, one of these top players?
So I've been really fortunate. I've played with almost all of the top players. I get to travel to Europe. I play at most of the Week of Nightmares. So I've gotten to play with a lot of really, really great players. The interesting thing is I can't pick one of them that I think is like the guy.
Right.
I think that everybody's good at different things, which is kind of the best part. Jay Kristoff plays VTES like he's playing poker, right? And it's a different mentality than Kelly Schultz or Bill Troxel or any of these other players. So I can't really pick one guy or one person that I think is like the golden standard.
Right.
But I mean, there are just so many great players, so many great deck builders. I can't choose.
Do you have a good story with the player?
Sure. I was playing at the Week of Nightmares in Atlanta with Jay Kristoff, and we were heads up at the end. And he had a couple of vampires, and I had more than a couple. I was playing a Weenie Presence Bleed deck. And he was holding his own really, really well at the end. And he had two vampires, a perfectionist and a leather jacket, right? And he like just passed a turn. I said, well, wait, if you just move that leather jacket back and forth, you're going to gain a blood. You get a resource for free. Both your guys will be in exactly this state. Why aren't you doing that? It's an old Paul Johnson trick from back in LA. He's like, oh, so he starts doing these, he starts making pool. He even said, all right, I've got you now, right? And then I pentexted one guy and bled him out with a propaganda bleed that the other guy couldn't block because he was titled. Just bang, gone. He goes, I might have been mistaken. And then after that, at dinner, we started exploring this mechanic a little bit more, and that was actually where the Darby dance started.
Oh, okay.
Was in that game, and over beers and a steak later that night, just like, how can we exploit this? And it's like, well, okay, Edge Explosion exists, and we're going to get new toys, and that was just the heart of this whole thing.
All right. Here's one of my favorite questions. That's going to be our last one. What's your favorite vampire movie? Do you have a favorite vampire movie?
This is not exactly what I'd call, rating things from like Cannes Music Festival. There aren't like tons of great candidates. I'm going to say From Dusk Till Dawn.
Okay.
It doesn't take itself seriously. Right. I think it's just a good movie to watch. It's not high theater, but it's amusing.
Well, Darby, I appreciate you coming out here today and spending some time with us. And hanging out with me and doing my YouTube channel. I appreciate it very, very much. And I want to say good luck at the tournament, except for when you're playing against me.
Well, I'm going to need it because he's the guy,
He's
right?
the guy. Hey, folks, thanks for tuning in to Read Between the Lines. I appreciate you stopping by and enjoying us. Y'all have a good one. We're out of here.